Good morning. It is day 13 of our 30-day meditation challenge. It has been great starting the year with you guys. I'm 13 for 13, and I don't know if I would be doing that if it wasn't for this group. So thank you, everybody, for practicing with me. We're going to talk about some myths and frequently asked questions about meditation today. We're going to touch on 5 things. The most common thing I hear, I'm not doing it right, I can't quiet my mind. We're going to talk about getting sleepy during our meditation practice. We're going to talk about the advantages of guided meditation versus a concentration practice. Get some questions about smoking marijuana, use of hallucinogens in a meditation practice. We'll talk about that briefly. And the last thing is posture. So we'll run through those pretty quick and then do our regular 3 minutes of meditation together. By far, every year when we do this, or whenever I'm working with a new meditator, one-on-one or in small groups, I very, very frequently hear, I just can't do this. I can't quiet my mind. My mind doesn't stop thinking. This is actually really central to the topic our friend Scott brought to the discussion group last night, and he re-emphasized something we talk a lot about, that brains think. It's in their nature to think. In the same way that the body digests, or ears hear, or eyes see, this is not something we can turn off. And our meditation practice isn't about having a blank slate of a mind. That would actually probably not be a very healthy sign about the state of your biological functioning if your brain completely stopped thinking. Our conscious experience is always going to be generating new thoughts and distractions and trains of thoughts that we'll run away with. And the type of meditation that we teach here is about recognizing those thoughts, releasing them by returning back to the experience of the breath. You remember that this week, as we talk about mindfulness in action, we're taking our meditation practice into our life. It's the same idea, right? If we're washing our hands, or if we're eating food, or if we're mindfully walking, we catch ourselves being distracted, kind of taken off course. We release that thought and return back to our anchor. In the mindfulness cases, our walking, our eating, whatever our mindful action is for that day. So we don't quiet the mind. Our practice is about changing the way that we relate to these thoughts. We do start to get some quieting, right? Sort of thinking will be less of this crazy, you might hear Buddhist groups referring to as this crazy monkey mind. You're not going crazy when you first meditating. You're just witnessing for the first time how chaotic and cluttered and distracting our everyday thoughts are. Second most common question I've been getting these last few weeks, and traditionally, is I'm trying to meditate and I'm finding myself falling asleep quite a bit. And what I love to say about this is meditation teaches us a lot about our life. And one of the things it might be teaching us in this instance is we may be part of the 40% of Americans who are chronically sleep deprived. Sometimes I get up early to meditate and I'm sitting there and I realize I'm exhausted. I'm nodding off as I'm trying to be counting my breaths. And I go back to sleep. That's what my body needs that day. I have this personal theory, it's not necessarily proven out in any research, that part of the reason we start to fall asleep when we sit still and invest in a meditation practice is most of us don't stop moving or fidgeting until we are, in fact, just about going to sleep. So I think there's something about stillness that maybe triggers this habit of going to sleep. So if we're tired, take a nap. Don't beat yourself up. I like to open my eyes a little bit, let some light in if I'm finding myself being sleepy and I want to try to wake up a little bit. So that might help you a little bit. Questions of guided meditation versus the breath awareness, the concentration practice that we do here. There is no right or wrong in meditation. There's 100+ different forms. You will find as a meditator what works best for you, and that is the best kind of meditation. The kind of meditation that is making you kinder, that's helping you wake up to your life, experience your life more fully and completely. So if guided meditation is that path for you, go for it. If you love transcendental meditation, centering prayer, anything that you find, I encourage you to run with it. The reason that we teach a breath awareness, a concentration practice first, is that I think it's the simplest. I also think it's the most challenging. It will revolutionize the way that we think day to day and experience our life. And I think the learning how to place our concentration where we want it to be and hold it there, and then to bring it back as we get distracted, will help us in any type of meditation practice that we find. It is easy to be able to tune out a guided meditation and start commenting on it or running away with a to-do list in our mind, just as easy it is to get distracted in any other circumstance. So practicing this, recognizing thoughts and releasing them, the developing this kind of still point in our meditation practice will benefit us for whatever type of meditation we go on to. Questions about intoxicants. Get this a lot about smoking. Marijuana is probably the most common. There's some folks who find themselves experimenting with hallucinogens, ayahuasca, any of the sort of more natural things, if not some others. I don't morally have anything wrong with these things. I've certainly had my experiences of dabbling in those. I do think there's a reason that in all of the, especially the monastic traditions, we find people who are serious about meditation kind of adhering to the precept of not clouding the mind and refraining from intoxicants. So what do I mean by that? For me personally, if I smoke marijuana, I am not completely and fully able to be present, right? It's a little bit of an enhanced or distorted, or it's not a natural, quiet, still place, at least for me. So when we're talking about some of those different substances, they can be a way of exploring different brain states, but may not be the things that develop, again, these ways of being more fully in our life, to participate mindfully in our day to day, and hopefully be a little more compassionate to our fellow human beings. Last, I get a lot of questions about posture. I think many of us who've been practicing for a long time, especially if you have a low yoga practice, we find ourselves really comfortable in a full lotus or a half lotus position. If you're not familiar with those, you can Google it. It's the twisting up your legs in a pretzel. And for me, it's really wonderful because it creates a solid base. I feel like it supports getting my hips a little tilted forward, so my lower spine, that lower lumbar, is supported, so I can get a nice upright natural spine that doesn't feel like I'm struggling to stay upright, that I can be balanced and awake without creating tension or tightness. I have incredibly tight hamstrings. I am one of the least flexible people I know. I can barely touch my toes, but it took time. I first started sitting in Burmese, which is none of our legs crossed over, sort of sitting on a high cushion, kind of trying to get our knees closer to the floor. Eventually started bringing one of my legs up onto my calf muscle, eventually into half lotus. Eventually started stretching a little more seriously, trying to get hamstrings and other muscles relaxed so I could sit more comfortably in a half lotus or full lotus. But there's absolutely no need for this. The Buddha talked about us meditating in any of the four positions: standing, sitting, laying down, or in motion. So we can work with our mind and experience our life a little more fully, regardless of our posture. We teach meditation here sitting in a chair. I'm just in a regular kitchen chair. You can put your feet flat on the ground and find a nice, healthy posture that you can use for your meditation practice. So those are the most common questions I've been getting so far this year. I hope they touched on everything. I'll, of course, keep answering your questions by email, but figure if getting a few questions a day, I suspect that means there are other people who are experiencing that and not asking. So let's go ahead and do our 3 minutes of meditation together. Happy Wednesday, friends. If you stuck around to the end of the video because we were going to talk about not being able to quiet the mind, I wore my favorite t-shirt today. Hold on, I'm overthinking. So let me know in the comments if you stuck around and saw that. I had to buy this when I saw it. So happy Wednesday, everybody.